Hello fellow space engineers, this is Marcelo from ACFM and Gaming. As you can see here in this scene, I have things ready to make another fleet review because fleet reviews are the only thing that I can do lately or recently in this game. Now, I'm going to make two videos that you may find enjoyable, but before that, I need you to bear with me and help me through this process. I was telling Whiplash last night, it's something a little bit of a detox, and in light of recent events, I have lost a lot of interest in, you know, just launching the game. Now, I haven't lost interest in the game because I still, enjoy the idea behind the game very much, but the execution has been, in the beginning, pissing me off from a very personal level, and then worrying me from, the whole investing point of view, because I guess a lot of us have invested a lot in this game, having high hopes and expectations for it. And what we're seeing recently is that it may fall into that category that I call forever broken games, and it's something that we all dread. Now, you should know what I'm talking about right now. I don't have to, go through all the whole Q&A analysis thing. You can, read Marek's blog posts, watch the Q&A, or even, watch some recaps by other YouTubers that have done so. Now, what I have here in front of me is what I call the sub-frigate classes, and you see the frigate over there, and then three more smaller vessels. And this is one of the videos that I'm gonna make, but I mean not right now at this point. I rather decide to, after this whole griping and complaining, to show you something positive, something new, something different, besides just the whole free review thing. Now, to get it out of the way, there are two main issues that really worry me a lot about the game, and they are related to, let's say, the long-term playability, and they're the same that you may have heard other people complaining about: multiplayer and replayability. In what sense? Multiplayer, it's been consistently getting worse, and that is not something that I'm just making up. We have experienced that when we run our server, and recently some other other viewers of the channel and other creators that I play with have been noticing that gameplay in servers has drastically, let's say, mm, okay, I know I don't want to use any pejorative or really strong words for it. Let's just say that is less than ideal, and you end up doing more damage control and annoying the admins about fixing this, fixing that, than actually playing. Sorry, need a sip of coffee. Now, what that means is that this is basically, like I used to call it back then, it's a single player game that has chat in it, and maybe a space in which you can share with your friends the things that you have created, kind of like a show and tell, or like a, let's say, more interactive forum in which for scale modelers or like Lego builders, something like that. At best, that's how the multiplayer right now is, and that leads to a mostly creative side of things, not so much for survival. And in survival, which is an area in which this game could shine, is really lacking in one regard. First of all, at least in my opinion, I consider that sorry, a game should have either an arc or a cycle, at least one of those, or at least one of each. In what way? See, Space Engineer, for example, if you start up on a planet, then what do? You gather resources until build a spaceship and get into space, and then that's basically it. You have nothing to do. There's no real PvE. The survival aspect of the game is limited to ice and power. Let's say just ice and uranium for the most part, and basically the game ends there. There is no real reason to go back to planets, and this is something that you have heard a lot before. Now, a lot of things could be done if you just consider the medieval engineer side of things, that game, surprisingly enough, has is more of a survival game than Space Engineers has ever been. And I'm mentioning it because it's not something that is completely alien. It's something that is within reach. Now, the other aspect, um, which is that replayability that we were talking about, is that it needs to be either a curve or a cycle in which you go back to the planet to do something. Now, the PVE side of things, we were really excited when the whole pirate drones came out, but that seemed to have been dropped completely. The random events in which the Argentavis carrier appears, it really no longer does anything. It just like floats there and does nothing. There's no real increase in enemy AI and variety. And I want to take this opportunity to segue into something. And it's not just my feeling that the whole exploration finds may also need to be retaken or even reevaluated, the ones that are currently in the game, because there's no real progression built into them. Some of them, the exploration finds are just you set up for life. If you find one of those, they have absolutely everything, so you no longer need to engineer any solutions into the game. One of the cases is a ship that we're talking about. It's by Aragat, one of my favorite creators. It's the Pilgrim's Curiosity. If you manage to capture the ship, then you basically the game ends. Now, not to say that those ships need to be taken out of the game. That's not the intention. It's they need to be put into a place of this curve, a point in this curve in which the player finds them after completing a specific task, or more like an achievement, something that you feel that the player deserves that reward of that magnificent creation. So those were my gripes and complaints and suggestions for it, because I don't want to just do empty complaining. And let's head on with the new. Now this is the current iteration of the Artemis class destroyer, and it's an ongoing process for me ever since I designed the Calypso, which has been a test bed for many ideas and many of the new blocks that get added into the game. So I tried them out in in the Calypso hull and eventually see how they work, and then I create new hulls or new ships based from that experience. Now I cannot do much, like I said, survival multiplayer, but at least I have this creative theory for it. So the Calypso was originally a Corvette hull. Like I just had a shape for it, and then it just grew until it became the cruiser that is published today in my workshop. And with the Artemis, I wanted to bring back some of the functionalities of it. And now, if you allow me to show you the original Artemis, it was meant to be more like an offensive only ship. So let's give it time until it. Okay. So it's a thinner hull. Most weapons, facing forwards and sideways, not really much facing backwards. As you can see, those side turrets there are meant to also protect the ship from behind. I wanted to create a more balanced version of it, and at the same time keeping with that offensive capacity. One thing that I never really liked about the Artemis is that I was trying to make this multifunction bay, and if you see there's two rotors that are meant to hold drop pods, and there's connectors that are perpendicular. The top ones are meant to either house a snob fighter or a patrol boat, and the side ones are meant to connect the drop pods. Now, drop pods are cool, and are one of the perhaps most interesting creations in when military sci-fi comes to into play. And in Space Engineers, they don't really serve the same purpose, mm, in the way that the sorry, I'm liking a little bit of coffee. 1 second. So in the way that the effect that you want to get from a drop pod, you can just get it from launching an astronaut, like just jumping with your spacesuit. And if you want to go for the full, Starship Troopers, the novel, not the movies, please, experience, you just throw a bunch of decoys alongside with you at the same speed in the area. And basically, that's a way of inserting an astronaut. If you have some tools in your backpack, some materials in your backpack, and then you create some stuff from there. That way, you get the full effect, the full tactical effect of a drop pod without having to build actually one. Now, the drop pods are really useful if you wanna, let's say, start a base, then recycle them into doing something, and just for a really fun ride. But for practical purposes, just like launching two people into a planet, you can do that better with a dropship and have more capabilities. So I didn't like that small mixed hangar there. So I decided to return to the Calypso's multifunction hangar. And what we see here is, to begin with, the new creations. This is the Ocelot 2, the way I'm calling it right now. It's meant to replace or fill the spot of the Ocelot Light Fighter, and it's something that you can build really cheap. And it's a single hydrogen tank, single generator to keep it functioning, to have some loiter time, and then it's just hydrogen. And I managed to include two scripts, Whiplash's own Horizon, Artificial Horizon, and Master's automatic LCDs 2. And the rest, straightforward. Connector acting as magazine for rockets, rocket launcher, Gatling guns, 4 of them, not much. So something that you can fend off the pirate drones if they ever come back. And here in the multifunctional bay, you can see that you can fit either 3 of them. You can also fit Whiplash's kite, and let's see if I can fit them with, let's see, along with, come on, okay, along with my own ocelots. And the way you do it is that you put them in tandem. maybe you cannot fit them both because they have different connector schemes, but you get the idea. It's for forgot to turn off those. That was fun. Turn off the main thrusters. Let's see. 8. Camera is a pain. Also, there we go. So in any case, like I was saying, you get to fit either 3 light fighters or, oh, actually you can fit them alongside, yeah, or 6 drones. Now this bay is going to be configured to be able to use with RDAV's fleet command. Now, if they are fixed that weird remote control bug, again, too many ifs. Of course, it's meant for utility drones or discardable, disposable combat drones. Now the next thing that I want to show you is the Tiger Cat, which is pure interceptor. And I based this, the engine nacelles, out of a design by Aragath. This is the burst fire, and as you can see here, it uses the same design of nacelle. I tweaked it a little bit. As you can see, I flipped it, flipped the whole thing, and added a large hydrogen thruster instead of the 3 small ones. Here you can see the generator is in the front, to be able to have the large port facing outwards for the thruster. And you may worry that these make it a little bit fragile because all the ice is there and it can burst. It's not really a concern. I had done many tests with it, and it would stand a lot of punishment. And if this thing pops, chances are the nose is gone before that, and the nose is where all the offensive thingies are. This thing has 2 more Gatling guns than my Vulcan design, so it has a lot of like first strike capability. and it has two Gatling turrets that can help you aim, let's say visually using the tracers. Now, the idea behind this craft is that being an interceptor is not meant to be used in atmosphere that much. So, or it's just like a single run, like you get a vector, intercept something, destroy it, and come back. It's not for loitering around like the Bullcat is. So it doesn't have any atmospheric thrusters in it to extend the fuel. So it's mostly a spacecraft, but it performs really well in atmosphere. Taking into consideration that the refueling is going to be perhaps more of an issue for this craft. Kind of like along the same lines of Battlestar Galactica's Raptor. Oh, sorry, not the Raptor, the Viper, in which it's a fighter that can perform in atmosphere, but is not its intended environment. And moving on with improvements. In this case, in particular to the Artemis, I added two more tanks on each side, top and bottom. So this extends the capabilities and turns it into a more moon capable or like low gravity well capable craft. Another one of the ideas that I had for it is maybe add an elevator in the bottom of this and maybe launch like lunar rovers, but that might be too specific for a craft that is basically a spaceborne destroyer. And basically that's it. Those are the three new crafts that I wanted to show you. Of course, before I do the whole review of the smaller patrol craft, I hope you have enjoyed this and tell me, what makes you keep your hopes up for the game, what annoys you, what would you like to see change, and how will you go about it? How do you think is the best way to, letting King know that this is a really active community and shouldn't be let down in the way that they have been doing. In any case, take care and keep playing.